Welcome to the podcast, Guidance with Gab. Learn and unlearn all things wellness. Welcome back to another episode of Guidance with Gab. Learn and unlearn all things wellness. Today's episode is full moon vibes because I know you guys see me on my Instagram putting out my water and I get so many messages asking, what is this? What is the purpose? What are you doing? And that's why we're here today. So I feel like I leave little hints and drops of things to do on my Instagram, but I figured I might as well make a podcast episode that goes a little bit more in depth with my full moon rituals and why I think they're so important. So to start off with the powers of a full moon, the full moon is intended to help you let go and release anything that you should and could be letting go of. New moons, on the other hand, are meant to help you manifest and put things into the world. So each moon phase has its own rhythm, the waning, the waxing, all of those. But for today, we're just going to focus on the full moon. I personally feel like we do these techniques, or at least I would be doing these practices, whether there was a full moon or not. So why not work with the energies of the universe? It's almost like I would be fighting the current if I'm trying to let go when there's a new moon, or vice versa, trying to manifest when it's a full moon. Why not work the powers that we have? The moon is so powerful that it impacts the tides. So why are we not incorporating that into our lives? I feel like we are just children of the universe. Why not work with what we have? The universe is so powerful, and to be honest, we do have the universe within us because we are just drops of the universe here on Earth. So why not work with the rhythms of it the same way that we should flow with the seasons, flow with the days, flow as a woman with your cycle? There's no reason to make life more difficult when you already have the higher powers working in your favor. And that doesn't have to be a spiritual higher power. It can just be simple nature and the flows that come with the seasons and the moons and everything else. So the full moon is full. The full moon is full. Yes, it is. The full moon is full of that feminine energy, the wisdom, the intuition. And I feel like it's so powerful when you're connecting with that, especially in terms of letting go. Letting go is such a big part of manifesting, which I think I have another episode about that. If not, I'll make one, because I do think it's really important that we understand the two sides of manifesting, which, yes, we need to put things out, but we also need to let things go to make space. But a full moon is the perfect time to do so. Let me get into the moon water because that seems to be one of a lot of questions. I fill up a little jar of water on a full moon, and I think of the intention. I think of what I want it to shed light on, what I want it to help me release. I pretty much say things like anything and everything that is no longer serving me, I choose to let it go. So it can be something broad like that, or it can be something a little bit more detailed. If there's a certain energy or pattern that you see repeating within yourself or your environment, you can be a little bit more specific, but I always weigh caution. I'll get to that after, when you're doing something specific. So I pretty much go for typically a more general letting go practice and intention. So I set that while I'm pouring my water, and then I set it outside under the moonlight. I have a balcony, luckily. If not, you can just put it outside, even on a windowsill that's going to get some light. That's a good place as well. And then the next day when I'm drinking the water, I'm thinking of the intention. It's like a very mindful sip. I'm not just chugging this water, but I mindfully sip it and think about the intentions that I've put out the day before and hope that, the powers of the universe help me release what is no longer serving me. And another powerful practice that I do, which everyone knows I love journaling, is write out the things that no longer serve me. So things I want to release, I let go of, I release, and I put that in front of every single sentence of things that I'm trying to shed that no longer serve me. A lot of the times I also leave it up to the universe, because the universe does have typically a bigger plan and a bigger path for us. And sometimes we need to let go of things that we're not ready to let go of, but the universe needs to set those things into action. Think about every time a relationship ended or a job ended, and in the moment, it's like, why is this happening to me? This feels so terrible and negative and stressful. But then you look back and you see why. So that's kind of what I call in from the universe to help me work on, because I know there are things that I need to let go of that I don't see right now that are blocking me from my true blessings and what I am really aligned with. So again, back to journaling, I just write down the things I want to release. And the next step of this practice, which I have strayed away from for a long time, is you can either rip it up, which I still do sometimes because you're acknowledging that you are ready to release it, you're ready to let go, you're tearing it apart, it's no longer a part of you, it's no longer staying with you in your space, let it go. I used to put fire on it, which ended up really dangerous. There was one time where I think I've told this story before, I probably have, because it was literally scarring and it shook me because I realized how powerful the universe was. I had been lighting a fire on my paper for months and months and months before this moment. And then I had a breakup and I clearly was not ready to emotionally and energetically release from this person because it was so recent, but it was coming from a place of desperation. Like, I need to get this person out of my system, out of my mind. I need to be done. Universe had other plans. So I put it on fire. And this thing, when I tell you, I've used the same paper, the same type of matches and everything else, and it has never happened before. This piece of paper went up in flames and it was truly terrifying. My whole hand, I'm standing on my balcony and it was Christmas time. This was so many years ago. So we have a Christmas tree, which I feel like Christmas trees were going on fire at one point in time, like all the time. I just associate Christmas trees with house fires for some reason. Very jolly of me. And I put the paper on fire. It lights up and it's in my hand. I'm like, shit, like I need to get this inside. So I open the balcony door and I'm like, oh my God, there's a Christmas tree. And I was living with my mom and I remember being like, help, 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 like fire, fire, fire. And I dropped it in the sink and I just, like the paper is black. Like there are just ashes following me to the bathroom. So I ended up just obviously rinsing my hands. My hands were burnt though. Like it was very bad. It actually really hurt. And I don't know what degree burnt they were. They obviously don't really have scars anymore, but it hurt. And it was the universe's sign to be like, chill out and stop trying to overdo it. Because fire is so powerful and the universe is so powerful and all of the elements working together. It was too much. And it shook me literally to my core. I was not expecting that. And that's why I always add caution to this and add caution to when you're trying to like force out something that you want to release that you kind of are not ready to release. There's a weird balance that needs to happen of understanding when to start initiating a release, even though you are not fully ready, while also not desperately trying to let go of it. I think coming from a desperate place, the universe put a big stop on that and was like, rethink your intention, rethink why you're doing this, rethink this whole situation that you just got yourself into. And I did. And gosh, universe definitely has bigger plans for us that we don't always know. On that note, you can write all the things down on a paper and release it in any way you want, ripping it, burning it, throwing it away. I caution from lighting it on fire. That's just my opinion. I also love a good full moon podcast. You can find them on Insight Timer. I'm also on Insight Timer too, if you want to listen to any of my meditations. But Insight Timer has some really good ones. Even YouTube, you could find these meditations anywhere. I try to do specifically full moon meditations because they are centered around letting go. And something else that's really cool is each full moon has maybe a bit of a different theme, a little bit, depending on what sign the moon is in. And that gets very complicated, so I won't go too far into it, but let's say I'm a Libra, so let's say there's a full moon in Libra. I am probably going to feel the effects of it more than someone who is not a Libra, solely because it is focused on my sign. But that's a whole other thing to jump into. But I think it's really cool that on these apps, Insight Timer, YouTube, they have meditations that are specific for what type of full moon it is. So full moon in Libra, full moon in Aries, which can be very helpful because it is, again, like specified down even more. Breath work is also really cool to do as just a good practice in general, but on a full moon, everything is going to be heightened a little bit. So doing breath work and then meditating can take it to another level. One caution for the full moon is just like, don't take things personally and be very wary of words you say and what people say to you. I know that if someone, specifically like a partner that I'm dating, if we're getting into a fight, I'm like, okay, it's a full moon. Like, let's get back to this in a few days when it's over. Because even if people are not aware that it's a full moon, if they're not aware of the fluctuations of their emotions, the emotions are still going to be heightened for the most part. Whether it's in a positive way or a negative way, emotions might feel a little bit more full. So if you are going to have a big conversation, maybe put it off. If you notice someone giving you a little bit more attitude, a lot of sass going on, complications, don't take it personally and just wait it out a few days. You don't need to act heavily on anything because a full moon can make you feel a little bit impulsive, especially when it comes to your emotions. Trust me, speaking from experience. Dancing is another great practice you can use to let go, especially if you put on some fun spiritual music. Close your eyes, dance like no one's watching, there probably won't be, and use your body to let go. The somatic work and the practice of releasing is so amazing because we have so much trapped in our bodies, especially dancing focuses a lot on the hips for the most part, and a lot of stuff gets trapped in our hips, a lot of feelings, stickiness. Just let it go through dance. I do like a good yin class because a yin yoga class because yin is very emotionally centered and there is a lot of releasing and letting go. Because in yin yoga, you are staying in a pose for a longer period of time. As your body is in these deeper poses, you're almost forced to let go of certain things that are coming up for you, whether it be physical, emotional, energetic. It really helps the process and kind of brings in the physical side of it and the energetic side of it. And I also do want to say that a full moon practice does not have to be crazy and intense, and it doesn't have to have this laundry list that I just set out of things to do. What is most important is doing something with intention and being very intentional with the full moon. You have this giant source of energy that can work in your favor if you allow it to. So maybe just use it for your advantage, be a little bit intentional, even just think of some things that maybe aren't serving you anymore. Use it as a time of reflection of the past month from this full moon and the last, and allow yourself to surrender to the powers of release, because you will simply just be making more space for the things that are meant for you. The more you let go of what isn't meant for you, even if it's something that feels really important to you and means a lot to you, it might be time to let go. Don't be afraid of letting go. Don't be afraid of a full moon. Find trust and guidance in her powers, and know that as long as you are intentional with pure, loving, good intention, that anything you put out will come back to you in some shape or form. If you guys have any questions about this, I would love to talk about it more in detail. I just figured I would give a few examples of some of the practices that I do, just to clear up some of the confusion of everything on Instagram. And if you like this episode, please share it with anyone that you think would enjoy it or you think needs it. Leave a review, a comment, a like, whatever it is. I am so thankful that I have this space to share all this weird stuff with you. So thank you.